Okay. Hello, everyone. Everybody hear me okay? Anybody just give me a thumbs up. All right. So we will begin at noon. There's our friends at MEDformance. So I'm going to go ahead and make you guys a co-host so that you have the opportunity to share your screen. Do you want to go ahead and test that real quick?
John, for this call, we're not going to be doing a PowerPoint
Okay,
presentation.
all right, no problem.
Anyway,
No
it's
problem.
going to be just conversational. We went through that PowerPoint last time we presented, so I know everybody will be disappointed about not getting to see a PowerPoint.
Everyone loves PowerPoint.
Right.
They want to see through more PowerPoints.
Right.
I can turn where y'all can see the Biltmore in the background.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I haven't been there in forever.
Well, this is my first time. I'm loving it.
It's really neat, isn't it?
It is unbelievable. My 2-year-old granddaughter's with us, and she thinks she's touring the castle of the beast.
That's perfect. That's
So
perfect.
she's little
Hey,
bells.
you saved a trip to Disney World right there.
That's right. That's right.
So we will wait just a few minutes. And so at noon, we will try to get started. So if everybody could just be patient for a few minutes while we gather our group and make sure we have all of our presenters with us, we will get started in a few minutes. Thanks for your patience.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. We'll be getting started here in just a little bit. About 2 minutes. We've got a great agenda and speakers for today, so we are so excited to have everybody joining us.
let's see, do we have, is Jennifer Reed with us yet?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. There you are.
Yes,
We're gonna have to start calling you Skiwi.
that's it. I can't figure out how to change the name on my phone.
Jennifer, it's great to see you.
It's awesome to see everyone else as well.
We'll get started in just about one moment.
Okay.
I just changed it for you. And for those of you, if you'll look into the chat, you should see a link to all of the meeting materials. So you'll be able to go to the Google Drive folder, and it has everything in there that you will need and then some. So here's everything that's in there. We have our financials in there. We have a variety of communications, information, updates, and then some materials that we'll be using during our conversations today. So feel free to peruse or refer to them when we get to those parts of our conversation.
All right, good morning, everybody. Actually, it's still 11 o'clock here in Paducah, so that's my morning. Good afternoon to my friends everywhere else in the world and here in Kentucky. I hope you're having a great day. If you've been on TikTok at all, I don't want to start with a TikTok joke, but I love the girl who says, I hope you're having a great day, not just a good day. So I hope you're having a great day. I am so honored and excited to introduce and start our morning with Jennifer Reed with Jfk Consulting. She has done a lot of work in Paducah to help us prepare in class in our federal review. And, you know, I definitely need to give her a shout out because of her and her hard work in preparing our team. We did have a great federal review this past FA2, and just her support and honesty is something that I tremendously value. So I'm going to get started today with our guest and let Jennifer Reed kick it off. After Jennifer Reed, I'm going to go ahead and let John introduce Brad with MEDformance, and then we'll continue on with our agenda. So John, after Jennifer gets done, if you'll kick it over to Brad, we'll get our day started. Thank you. And Jennifer, the floor is yours.
It's very early morning where I'm at. I am in California this week. So good morning to everyone, and good afternoon to the ones all the way on the East Coast. I want to thank John and Christy for having me here today to talk to you about what to look for during this review. So I want you to think about your risk as you go into your 2022-2023 school year. Wow, that sounds real odd, right? 2022-2023. Think of all the risks that you've had as you did your self-assessment, because as usual, you're going to have to pull up your self-assessment and send to the Office of Head Start, and they're looking at your risk. And there are common risks all over the nation, such as teacher shortages. Some programs can't find children. So how are you dealing with your risk? And health and safety is a huge risk for some reason in Region 4. Region 4 had the most non-compliances in health and safety. So Region 4, let's kind of clean it up. As we all know, before Dr. Fortron, I can't pronounce her last name, beautiful lady, she left, her expectation was to become fully enrolled back with Head Start. And in order to become fully enrolled, you have to have what? You have to have full amount of teachers. You have to be fully staffed as well. So think about different ways to get staff, because that's going to be a part of, the question and technique. How did you get staff? So kind of think about going to the colleges, recruiting the senior class. I'm giving y'all some good nuggets here. Think about going to the master's program and creating a sub pool using students that are in like your local college that's going for their master's, because most people can't work and get their master's. So the days that they don't have class, guess what they can come and do? They can come and sub for you. They want you to think outside of the box. Use your parents as potential staff. You know, remember that was the true assumption of Head Start, making our parents employable. So start a substitute pool with your parents. And if you have some really good parents, guess what you can do? Put them in your CDA program, put them on a study plan, help them, because you can get a CDA within 60 days if you're working your training hours out just right. And while they're working, they're getting those 480 hours. So just kind of think about that. But I want you to think about all of your risk. Think about those 45 and 90 days, because you should be back on track with 45 and 90 days. We really can't use COVID as an excuse anymore, because we're kind of back to normal. Now, shifting from FA1 to from FA1 and 2 to class, you have yet another year to get your class together, because if they come to you this year for class, it won't be used against you and in a defeatful way for DRS. So, get those observations. And I know we do a lot of observations with Miss Jessica, and we do them with Christy and a few others in Kentucky. Get somebody outside of your program to do class, because at the end of the day, you want an honest opinion. And at the end of the day, like for with Jessica, we always invite her reliable staff to score with us. We have to be trained every 90 days with class. So we have a more keen eye, and we're not stuck inside of classrooms actually doing this. So that's class. And, I can talk about class all day, but get your class together. And switching back to FA2, and I'm going to turn it back over to Christy. Please make sure that you're doing your curriculum to its fidelity. When I say fidelity, I mean making sure that your centers are labeled, making sure if you're doing creative curriculum, you don't have the calendar up, making sure that when you walk inside the room, whether you're using creative curriculum, whether you're using high scope, whether you're using Frog Street, Big Day, all those beautiful big box curriculums, whatever you're teaching, it should be evident in the classroom. So it's just those things, because I know a lot of programs are hiring childcare workers and they don't truly understand curriculum. So those are just different formats and different suggestions. We're out here in California now coaching the coaches on fidelity. So super cool things to do. Make it fun, make it light for your teachers so that you can have a super, super great year. And please make sure, FYI, that you do that supplemental grant money that one time, so that you can get what you want or get what you need at the end of the day. And if y'all have any questions.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the group has any questions for Jennifer.
Well,
Hi,
if not,
well,
I'm listening.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sharon in Lexington. I don't have a question for Jennifer, but I do want to let everybody know that we have contracted with Jennifer, and she has come in, and when you guys have somebody else coming in and taking a fresh look at your program, your feelings are going to be hurt. Because when we asked Jennifer to come in, we asked her to come in and to let us know, we want you to come in and find absolutely anything. I don't care if it was a cobweb in the corner. We wanted her to find it so that we could correct it, because we see these things over, you see these things so often that you become immune to the papers curling on the walls and things like that. And so we got through 2 perfect reviews using Jennifer and her team. And so I put my stamp of approval on it and hope that some of you guys will also use her to make sure that your programs are right and tight the entire time. So that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you. And please, Region 4, we have to get this health and safety cringe off of our back. And just like Ms. Sharon said, you guys see it every day, and we have a different eye. Our eyes are trained to find this stuff. So again, thank you, Ms. Sharon and Ms. Jessica, for having us in your program. And the stamp of approval was when she got that perfect review. So hats off to Lexington Community Action Agency for a great job that they did for correcting what we found.
Yeah, and I know that there are some other programs that are using you as well in Kentucky, Jennifer, and they have very similar similar experiences to share. So those were some of the things that folks need to worry about for upcoming reviews. Are there any other changes, any other whispers in the wind, if you will, of things that that folks can expect in the new year for upcoming reviews?
Well, it's still kind of shaky. The review will be on site. FA2 will be on site this year. And their plan is to have more boots on the ground, because if you had it last year, it was very few boots on the ground. So there will be more boots on the ground this year. The hybrid piece is still in talks. You know, the interview piece will be hybrid, but the boots will be on the ground. But they're just trying to put more boots on the ground because of all of the health and safety things that they saw across the country. And the crazy thing about health and safety was you were supposed to be cleaning so much because of COVID. And then just all of the crud and all of the, you know, in Kentucky, y'all call it Kentucky crud, but all of the gunk that we found and broken toys. Directors, just pop up at your centers and just look inside the toy area. And if you find something that is broken, throw it out yourself. Teachers are sometimes pre-hoarders and they hate to throw stuff away. You know, I was guilty of that, but if it's broken, throw it out. If it's worn and torn, especially books, throw them out. Those are just some of the things. Health and safety is going to be another keen eye opener, again, because that is one of the risks that most programs have due to lack of staff. And if you guys bought those beautiful Zonal machines, hint, hint, please use them. You spent a lot of money for those Zonal machines. Have your teachers use them, show proof of the schedule and how they actually use them. And again, directors, go to one of your centers, pick up that checklist for the outside and just walk and see what you see on the outside. Because at the end of the day, if they say that the outside is perfect and when we get out there, we're stepping in potholes, we're seeing rust and holes, that means it's not perfect. And just tell your teachers and staff, it's okay that something is wrong on the playground or in your classroom. That shows the system of how our program fixes what we use in the program. But those are the hot topics. Everybody's on pins and needles to see when this DRS list is coming out. So, you know, just check grants.gov every Wednesday to see, hopefully, well, nobody in Kentucky or Region 4 is going to be on DRS. That's what we're putting out in the wind. So just make sure that you're not up there for some crazy reason.
All right. Any other questions for Jennifer? Thoughts or comments?
Super good. Well, thank you, John. And
You
if
are
you
more
do
than
have
welcome. Thank you for making time to join us. I know it's early for you.
yes, and if you have any questions, my phone number is 843-230-6759. Again, that's 843-230-6759. Thank you.
843-230-6759. So I just put that in the chat for everybody.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Jennifer. It's always good to see you.
Always great to see you. You guys have a great day in beautiful Kentucky. All right. Bye.
Okay, so Christy had a federal call that ended up popping up today. So she is going to be in and out of our board meeting. So she asked me to just sort of lead some of our guests that we have at the outset here. So we've got our next guest with us, Brad Cleaver from MEDformance. Now, you may recall that Brad and MEDformance joined us last year to talk about some of the air purification systems that his company specializes in, particularly when we were in the midst of COVID. And I think that there was some interest from Head Start programs about those products and perhaps how those could be implemented within classrooms. But at the same time, you were so overwhelmed with COVID that you couldn't sit down and actually write the grants and figure out how to get that done. And I know that Brad wants to sort of talk about some of the new capacities that they have on staff and on their team that they may be able to use to help you. And I know that he also has some colleagues of ours from around the state who may be able to speak to how valuable the MEDformance products are. So wanted to give Brad another opportunity to sort of circle back with the Head Start family to just sort of share where they are. And Brad, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And good to see everybody again. I know it was about a year ago now, we really presented our air purification devices that we've installed in classrooms across the state of Kentucky. And now we've really had a lot of advancements since then. We're working directly with Indiana, Tennessee as well. Head Start, early Head Start has been a great success for us, as well as all the school systems that we've been able to work with too. So it's really good from a sales standpoint because we're sharing success stories about what people have done and your colleagues versus a sales pitch. And so that's really kind of nice for us. One thing that we did notice, and I spoke to John about it, and we're excited about partnering with John as well to be able to try to identify funds that potentially will be out there in the future. But what we have noticed, and I know Cindy Graves is on here as well, is the impact that we're making on not only the kiddos that have suffered from asthma and allergy, but the teachers that are in these older buildings in the classrooms has been significant. We have some really amazing stories about this. And the thing is, the press that's come with it from each location we've worked with has been extremely positive. The feedback from the parents has been very positive. And are we past the COVID? We don't really talk about COVID a ton. We talk about respiratory illnesses. We talk about the spread of respiratory illnesses, and we talk about molds and asthma and allergies. And the feedback from the staff when we go in and put these in, and we talk to them about here's what's been invested for you, and you're going to feel better. We get so much feedback of, wow, when we come in after a long weekend, we can feel it. Our eyes burn. We feel it in our throat. The director of health, Whitney Powell, was on here last time that really spoke about what they experienced at Murray Head Start, and we were able to really change their work environment for the positive. And it's been very exciting. One thing that we've done for you guys that I hope will be a valuable resource, and I want to introduce her today. If she just finished writing a grant in Western Kentucky for 6 schools. Her name is Diane Owen. She's been writing grants for over 30 years. What we wanted to do for specifically the state of Kentucky is, I understand the staffing is an issue, and I've spoken to several folks that have seemed overwhelmed with the grant process, and we've got staffing, other things to work with. So we brought on a professional grant writer who's been writing grants for the state of Kentucky for over 30 years. I've been just truly blown away by, first of all, understanding the process of writing grants is overwhelming. So I get it. I wouldn't want to write the grant, but that's what she does. She's been great at it. I think Cindy's actually worked with her in the past, so I may let Cindy speak to her. She is at the Biltmore on vacation, but she's going to join us for this call if she's on here now. I'll ask her to show her face and unmute. But Cindy, do you care to just talk about her as a resource, because I'm hoping this is a value add to everybody in my home state.
Yeah, Diane is awesome. She has a world of experience. That she's a former school superintendent. She's been in over the Four Rivers County Foundation in the very western part of the state. She's an awesome grant writer. We've partnered with her on several grants that she has written and submitted. She's written preschool grants. She's written Safe Schools grants, all kinds of topics and variety, and just a wealth of knowledge. She's really awesome at going in and taking a look at the rubric for whatever grant it is, and then digging out the research from multiple sources. If I could hire her full-time, I would steal her away myself. But she's a great partner, and certainly able to take your information and flesh out whatever kind of grant that you're looking for.
Can you see
Thank-
me?
No, I can't see you, Diane.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, well, wonder why we can't see me. Let's see. Now can you see me?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay.
Hi.
All right. Hi. So I'm trying to find a place where there's not people, which is a little difficult to do here at the Biltmore. But give you a little shot there. So if you haven't seen it, you should do that. Let me find a place that has nobody. Hold on. I had a place, but then. Okay. So I am a grant writer. I have written grants with Cindy. Love Cindy Graves. She and I have done some fun things together. We've done some preschool grants. I have written several types of preschool grants, and I've also written grants for large schools and for the co-op. I have not written a statewide grant yet, but I just finished one that could have been a statewide grant. And it was 121 pages. So I feel like I wrote a book. And but one thing that happened when I was doing this grant of 6 different schools in 5 different counties was I did a correlation between the age of the buildings and the health number of times that the students came to the health nurse. And it was just shocking to me that there was a correlation. I guess it shouldn't be, but it was. And it also, the teachers, we put one of these units in. One of the teachers that is a senior teacher. She's taught for longer than I have. And she has severe asthma, and she was able to take away her inhaler. So we're really looking forward to it. This is something the nurses looked at and asked for. We also had in the 4 Rivers, we've been able to secure a doctor who grew up in poverty and wants to give back to the students. And he looked at this product and approved it. I also have used it in my own home, and I'm seeing a big difference in my home. So I've become quite an advocate of this product. I've seen that it works. It does help with breathing. And so I really do like the product. What I've done is write the product into other programs and needs that the schools have. So it's been one of 5 different things that we wrote into a grant. So I'm happy to work with MEDformance, and always happy to work with Cindy, and my heart is with students. So I'm always happy to help.
Thanks, Diane. I appreciate that. And you know, with that being said, what I would like to do, as I was talking to Mr. Mountjoy, I know that there are folks out there that may not have allocated all of your CARES Act dollars. We're here to help for you as well. It's a very simple process. The installation is very, very, very simple. I'll show you guys the unit so you can see it. This is the unit here that we mount on the wall with 2 screws. Put a cord protector there if we need to, so the kiddos can't pull up on the cord, but it's a very quick and easy installation process, very low maintenance. There's a little dryer filter that just needs to be replaced once a month. We give you 2. There is no additional cost, but it takes about a minute to pull one filter out, put the other one in, and it's kind of like a dryer lint brush on your dryer sheet on your dryer, if you will, or the screen there. But very, very simple. But we wanted to provide a resource. And I'll say this, I would like to offer one device for everybody on this call, for you to test it. And if you have if you yourself have asthma or allergies, or you know anybody in your building that has asthma or allergies or suffers from that, put this unit beside them and let them tell you how they feel. We know staffing is an issue. It was just talked about again, and we believe it truly brings peace of mind to folks that may suffer from comorbidities that, you know, still may be fearful of going into classroom environments. We experienced that. I have that conversation several times with superintendents. It's still an issue. It's an issue with bus drivers. We're putting these on buses now. We have bus units because schools are trying to maintain bus drivers. It's a serious issue, but we feel like we can help. We feel like the press will help with staffing as well. We would like to send a unit to everyone. So what I may do I may just reach out to everybody individually and say, hey, can I send you one? Give it a try. If you have an employee, like I said, they will be very grateful for the product, and they'll give you their own feedback. And so that's Damon, I have you on here too. If I've missed anything, I think that's about 10 minutes there.
No, I appreciate everybody's time today. I would just say also, are there any questions for Diane while we have her on the phone?
Or any questions for me?
I'm not sure if you guys talked about this. I was having some technical difficulties, but I'm interested in knowing the cost for the device.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were speaking to John, it's our goal is if we're going to look to, if I have every county say, Brad, we would like to participate, obviously we're going to look to, we'll have some very, very favorable pricing. The unit's right around $2,000 per classroom. But again, we do have volume pricing as well. So I think that's one thing I'll be speaking about is if I reach out to you, are you interested? And if I have 5 different systems that are interested, we would probably look to, you know, try to work together in one big opportunity to be able to, you know, provide clean air to as many teachers and kiddos that we could, or we can work individually. But that's right around $2,000 is where the cost is going to be.
And Brad, is there any follow-up information that you can provide to me that I can then send out to everyone? Absolutely.
I'll send an email after this call to you, John, that you can disseminate. That'll have my information on there as well.
Okay.
We'd love to work with you guys. We appreciate your time.
Perfect. Any questions for Brad and the folks from MEDformance? All right, well, we will make sure that we get that information out to folks and sort of
Okay.
ask them in a few weeks if they've got any interest, and then suggest that they get back to you and then see what can happen.
That sounds great. Well, thank you very much, and have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on in our program, and next on our agenda, we have our friends from the Kentucky Department of Education, Andrea Bartholomew and Bill Buchanan. So Andrea and Bill, I believe you are both with us. There's Bill. Where's Andrea?
I'm right here.
All right. Hey, gang, thank you all for making the time to join us again.
Sure. I do apologize. I'm on my cell phone because, you know, Spectrum gives you the between 12 and 3. And I expected them to show up at 3 and they showed up at 12. So they've taken our internet out. So I'm on my phone. I apologize if anything gets start to crack up or anything like that, for sure. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
You bet. So what's happening over at KDE these days?
All right. So we have lots of things going on, of course. Back to school is always a really busy time.
You guys need any permissions to share your screens?
We can do that. We have slides, or we can just share talking points.
Okay, I'm gonna give, who's got it? Bill, do you have it?
I have it, yeah.
Okay. All right, there you go.
So. Well. Andrea, go ahead. I tell you,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
trying
We're
to.
not Zoomers. We're not Zoomers.
We're not Zoomers. It's
We're
not
not
showing
Zoomers.
up in my.
Sure. So as Bill's trying to find, figure out how to get his slides up on the Zoom platform, just to let you all to know that we have been thinking about our partners in Eastern Kentucky dealing with the aftermath of all of the floods. That's something that we've been kind of working through and with Lynn Baker over at GOEC. We've been talking to her a little bit about some things that we could do or possibly do to support the Head Start programs as well as the state funded programs. And in times of crisis, it doesn't matter who pays the bills. So we want to make sure that you all have what you need. If there are things you need from us or support that you need from the department as far as collaboration or as far as, you know, special education services, things like that getting going, please reach out. And let us know how we can support. The most important thing is to get those kiddos back in classrooms. Any way that we can support that, we want to do that. So moving on with our little slides here, we have a couple new things happening at the department with the first one focuses on special education. So if you have students in your Head Start programs that receive special education services, they're required to do a continuous assessment for collection of data for federal IDEA reporting. So it's really important that your district or your staff know that we are changing our processes to a child outcome summary process. I know that our RTCs our regional training centers have reached out and are trying to gather people for trainings on this system. So what it will look like, it will no longer be a KIDS system with the Kentucky Early Childhood Data System, where you would go in and they would pull your information from TS Gold or, you know, AEPS, whatever assessment that you all used. It becomes a more holistic process where the teacher and the assistant and the parent and any related service providers sit down and talk about how the child's progressing. It's not based on just one data point. It's going to be based on several data points. These trainings are provided by the RTCs. If this is the first time you're hearing about it as a director, that makes me nervous because our RTCs were to reach out to you all about it. But this is something that would only apply to the students in your catchment areas with IEPs. This would not apply to students without IEPs. So be on the lookout for some information about that coming out. I've sent Lynn Baker some things that I can continue to send her some things to get out on your guys' listservs. But please contact your regional training center in your area for more training. If you don't know who your regional training center is, you can send me an email or Bill an email and we can help you out with that. This COS process, we call it, or the COS, is something that is used by almost the entirety of the states and territories for reporting of preschool outcomes for students with disabilities. Kentucky was one of, I believe, 4 states that did not use the system until this year. So there's a couple other states that are transitioning as well. It's something that was created by the Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP. So it is a system that is tried and true, and it works really well. It's just going to be getting ourselves situated in a spot where we can get the good data on our kiddos and really tell the story of early childhood in Kentucky. Questions about that before I move on? Again, feel free to email me, give me a call if you've got questions. Most of you know how to get a hold of me if you need me. I cannot see chat or anything, so John, I'm going to rely on you if people are asking questions.
So far, so good.
All right, good deal. So moving on to Head Start full utilization, which is due Thursday. So we've gone back and forth with this process. We had, you know, districts uploading it into GMAP, which is our kind of monitoring system for state funded preschool. But now based on Senate Bill 60, we have to have those in earlier so we can look at them and talk about disputes. So by now you should have seen the new certification form that says we're fully utilized, we're great, we're not utilized, but we're okay with it, and then we're not utilized and we want to talk about it. So those are the things that making sure that you check those boxes. And if you have a dispute, if you have something that you want the Commissioner of Education to weigh in on, you need to email the state-funded preschool mailbox. That information was sent out some time ago. If you need a refresher or a reminder, I'm happy to resend that to John or Christy or Lynn. They can spread the news with that if you need a refresher. We did impact school. We did extend the deadlines for students in school districts that were impacted by flooding to Friday, October 14th. Again, if you need a further extension, if you need support, if you're trying to figure out where to put kids right now because maybe you lost your facility and you need help, please let us know. Please reach out to Lynn, reach out to me or Bill. Our first priority is getting kids services wherever that may be. So that information for full utilization is uploaded by the school district into our SharePoint site that we have. And if for some reason you have sent it to me through email or the regular mail to me or to Bill, the school district will still be able to upload that information. So we do appreciate that. Questions about full utilization? Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Bill.
Okay. Thanks,
Actually,
Tammy.
I do. I'm sorry. I couldn't get unmuted. I'm so sorry. Didn't get it
No
right.
worries, no worries. I'm
No
sorry.
worries, Tammy.
Two fast questions. One is, if there is boxes not checked, will you all let us know? Will you let the school know if there was boxes left?
If
Unchecked?
something was blank, we will contact the school district and instruct them to contact you.
Okay. And then secondly, if someone did not send it in time, would you also let us know, or do you follow up with the school system since they're the ones who are sending them in?
We will follow up with the school district. If it is excessively late or there's a problem or a reason, then we'll touch base with you to make sure that you guys are good.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't wait for your question. I don't have much wait time. I've lost that as a teacher. I've lost my wait time. Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Next, we're going to provide you with an update about use of our American Rescue Plan dollars and the efforts underway to support quality and professional learning within state-funded preschool programs. We have ARP, Early Learning Team. They're wonderful folks who are identifying key initiatives through which the department will be supporting state-funded preschool programs in the months and years ahead. One of these initiatives involves teacher leader communities. And the ARP team has developed basically a professional learning community to support teacher leaders across the state. This will be done regionally, and it will be held, these regional sessions will be held in October and November. And it's focused on best practices, may include more information about early childhood standards and how to integrate standards into lesson plans, and again, other high quality teaching and learning practices in the classroom. We currently have 78 preschool teacher leaders who have signed up to participate. We also will continue to support PBIS with the use of American Rescue Plan dollars. With the use of these funds, each of our 5 regional training centers will be able to maintain their PBIS pyramid and behavior coach. Planning is underway, and support for implementing the pyramid model is underway, and we have 22 school districts that have signed up for support with implementing the pyramid model. Another initiative through the early learning team is a mentorship program for new directors of preschool and special education. And recently, last week in Lexington, we had the Directors of Special Education Institute, the DOSE Institute, and during one of the sessions on leadership, a question was asked, how many preschool coordinators or directors of special education have responsibilities for preschool, but lack the experience of teaching in a preschool classroom. And there were several who don't. So mentorship is absolutely essential for effective leadership in this area. And so the early learning team has developed something they call OCL guides, guiding, uniting, inspiring directors of early learning and special education. And participants receive support through the learning team monthly. And there are 48 new preschool and or special education administrators who have signed up so far to participate. And again, the idea there is to strengthen the knowledge base and build capacity for effective leadership in state-funded preschool programs. And that's one of the initiatives right now underway through the use of the ARP funds. Also, we're going to emphasize early literacy, the science of reading for early learners, and there will be professional learning available around early literacy to districts upon request. And so they're in the process now of developing resources, including videos that provide short lessons on how to implement the early literacy strategies based on the science of reading. And Lori Bean will be facilitating that work, one of our early learning team members. If you have more questions about the ARP early learning team initiatives, Dr. Tracy Sharp is the Executive Strategic Advisor, or Alicia Reeves, early learning specialist, can provide more detail and information about the work they're doing. So I'll pause there to see if you have what questions you may have about anything we've shared today, or if you have other questions that we are interested in, information we haven't shared, but that you are curious about.
Thoughts, questions, comments? So far, so good.
John, we're grateful for the time.
Wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
We always appreciate when you all are able to join us. The information and data that you all share is always so invaluable. And we look forward to continuing our partnership. I think everybody knows how to get in touch with Bill and Andrea, but if you don't, we'll make sure that we send out their contact information after the meeting. And it looks like Christy is back with us, so I'm going to turn the meeting back over to her.
All right. Thank you all. I apologize for having to step away for a moment. Needed to take that phone call. John, thank you for continuing on for us. And I am excited to introduce Alex Page. He is very familiar to all of us. And I just want to thank him for working with all of our Kentucky programs. So Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir. And I can't wait to hear what Lakeshore has going for us and some maybe new things on the horizon if you've got that.
Yes, no, absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me on and giving me a few minutes to talk. I promise I won't take too much time. We've got some exciting things coming up in the Lakeshore world that I wanted to share with all of you. You should have received by now an email invitation to our first ever furniture expo that we're going to be putting on at our distribution center in Midway. I know a lot of you have been to the distribution center and seen the facility, but there's some of you that still have not had this opportunity. So wanted to make sure that you all knew about it. We're going to have multiple early learning environments, mobile early childhood with our Flex Junior line. Plus we're going to have outdoor furniture, like complete, outdoor classrooms set up and on display for you to go through. We're going to have our chief academic officer there, Patty Clark. We're going to have, myself, Patrick Ryan, who you all probably know that name. And then Doug Williams, one of our senior vice presidents, is going to be there as well. We'll be doing tours throughout. There's going to be, drinks. There's going to be snacks. There's going to be food. It's going to be a great event. If you've not seen the invitation, I'll put my email in the chat for this call. If you've not seen the invitation, then I will be sure to or reach out to me after the call, and I'll be sure to get you an invite sent, because I want you all there and as many people from your organization, your agency as possible to also join us. Would be fantastic. And if you're partnered, if you're close to a school district, facilities, district, purchasing, that sort of thing, or even, anyone else in your organization, network of friends that you talk to that would be interested in joining, please, forward this invite to them as well. So that was the first thing. The second exciting thing is, so we have actually just come out with a brand new kit. It's not even on our website yet, but it is specific to Kentucky. Just to give you the background on it, the RFP came out from the state of Kentucky with the new Brigance screener that rolled out. So we've actually put together a kit that is not intended to, teach to the Brigance test, but it is, intentionally designed to hit multiple key domains and targets that are, targeted on the Brigance screener. So we've come out with a new kit. I'm going to share my screen. Like Andrea was saying, I'm not the best with Zoom, but I will do my very best here. Let's see here. Okay, are y'all able to see my screen? The Kentucky Kindergarten Readiness Kit.
Yes, we can see it.
You
Thanks.
got it.
Perfect, thank you. So real quick, just wanted to show this to you guys again, because I mean, who would have better input than this group of people right here? This is a brand new kit that we have just come out with. You can see each item in the developmental area that we've targeted with each item. Now this kit is hot off the press, as one can be. It just came out this week. So you all are literally the first group that has seen this kit of materials that we put together. And again, this was specific to the state of Kentucky. Each item hits multiple domains, and the materials are playful and intentionally included for independent, small group, and one-on-one instruction with the teacher. Some items are self-checking and some are open-ended, just to give that flexibility in the outcome. So just wanted to share this with you guys. If you're interested in learning more about this kit, please, again, my contact information I'll share in the chat. But yeah, reach out to me, and I'd love to discuss that further with you, and any questions on the expo as well that you might have. So that's all I've got. Thank you all so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Alex, would you be sure to type in the date and info about the expo into the chat as well, just so we have that too?
Absolutely.
Alex, that kit looks great. I can't wait to get a few ordered and see how we can utilize those.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. I'll get my info entered into the chat, and you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Wonderful.
Alex.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all.
Anybody have any questions for Alex while he's here? All right. On to our next agenda item. We've got Miss Carla Brown and Sharon Price here. Ladies, it's so good to see you. I appreciate you taking time to come and bring us updates from Community Action Council and the Head Start Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to you all. And again, thank you for your time.
Good morning. It's still morning here where I'm at, but I'm going to turn it over to Sharon to share some information. Is she still on here, Sharon? No.
I know she had a technology issue earlier.
Okay.
But it's not looking like her or Jessica are on here, so they may have had their internet drop at the office.
Okay. I don't have anything to share. We appreciate you all putting us on the agenda, and I'll text her real quick, and if she has something to share, then I'll.
Okay, yeah, we can always circle back. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and go with our roll call. So if we can get roll call completed.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. If you would just let me know if you're here by saying yes, I, present, whatever you'd like to say. So we'll start with Ashland. Audubon,
Present.
Bell Whitley,
Present.
Big Sandy,
Here.
Bluegrass, Bourbon County,
Here.
Boyd County, Breckenridge County, Grayson, Community Action Lexington,
Present.
Community Action Southern Kentucky,
Present.
Carroll County, Central Kentucky,
Present.
Gateway, Greater Louisville, KCEOC,
Present.
LKLP,
Present.
Lake Cumberland, Lincoln County, Middle Kentucky,
Present.
Murray,
Present.
Northeast Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, Ovek,
Present.
Owsley County, Paducah,
Present.
Williamstown, WKU, let me count here just to make sure.
John, I'm not sure if you see it. Owsley County is here. She responded in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Oh, yep. Okay, so if that's the case, then we have a total of 15 that are present, and in order to have a quorum, we require 14. So we do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So it appears that we do have a quorum. I'd like to direct you to the March 2022 minutes from our last board meeting. If you'll take a quick look at those, and when finished, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
And I've just posted another link to the Google Drive, so you should be able to access that. And I would also be happy to put it on the screen if not.
Thank you, John. Do I have a motion to accept the March 22 minutes?
I'll make a motion, Jessica.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Jeff.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. At this time, I'd like to go into the the president's report. Sorry, I'm used to policy council director's report. Well, the president's report. My report is very short and sweet right now. I really want to give John thanks and praise for supporting everything that's going on in the association right now. I know that I've spoke with him several times on some ideas and ways that I can't be in Frankfurt right now, but I know that we have an early childhood task force. And so I know he's going to be attending those sessions for us to give us updates. We've also everybody's been getting their year started. So we've not had a lot of business and movement right now. I know we'll be gearing up to get some new officers elected, but for right now, I think we're moving ahead. And John's been doing a whole lot of work around our Leadership Academy. And John and I have also been working with the Pritchard Committee on the family-friendly school certificate. So lots of information coming up. At this time, we're going to, you'll find in our meeting materials a one-page document addressing the topic of our past president. So I'm going to turn this over to John, and I'd like for him to walk us through this document and the reasons we're discussing it and why it will require approval.
Okay, very good. Let me make sure I've got my video on, audio on. I think everybody can hear me okay. All right, so this particular document that you see in front of you, and this was sent out prior to our previous board meeting in June where we did not have a quorum, which is the reason why we're taking it up now. So we have sort of a unique situation, and our bylaws, however, anticipated this unique situation. And the situation is this: Alicia Polston, who was the former director of Lake Cumberland Community Action, she had been elected to serve as the Kentucky Head Start Association's past president. She was elected last year to a 2-year term, and her term will not expire until June 30th of 2023. However, she retired from her position as executive director of Lake Cumberland Community Action at the end of last year, so at the end of 2021. So that means that she is no longer officially affiliated with a Head Start program. So she's no longer affiliated with a Head Start program. However, she remains an elected member of our executive committee, an elected officer of KHSA. So our bylaws do allow that to happen, subject to the approval of the board. And so Alicia is interested in continuing in her position as the past president, subject to the approval of the board. Now, I will also share that she serves on the Region 4 Head Start Association Board of Directors, and she has been in touch with that organization's executive director, Myra Ingram, and Myra has likewise approved her to continue in that role as a representative from KHSA, simply because she has been appointed there not as a director and not as a Head Start staff person, but rather she was appointed as a friend of Head Start. And so that particular role on their board does not require a direct association with a Head Start program. So this document that you have in front of you, and it is in the Google Drive folder, really goes through and I think explains very clearly what the situation is. We have been in touch both with the new Head Start director at Lake Cumberland, as well as Alicia's successor as the executive director of the Lake Cumberland Community Action Agency. Everyone from their side of the equation is on board with her continuing in this role. We're very conscious of the fact that Alicia, in the role of past president, does not in any way reflect upon Lake Cumberland. So for instance, if she continues in her role as past president of KHSA, that does not mean that she is speaking for Lake Cumberland, nor does she get a vote for Lake Cumberland. In fact, the only vote that Alicia would have would be in executive committee meetings, and she would not even have a vote during board meetings because it's only the directors from our Head Start programs that have votes in our board meetings. So we wanted to be very clear about what that role is and what we're asking of you. So the question before the group today, you'll see down at the bottom, the question is, does the KHSA Board of Directors approve Alicia Polston to continue to serve in her elected role as KHSA past president for the remainder of her term until June 30 of 2023? So Christy, that would be the question that we would need to put to the board, and we would need a motion and a second and an approval.
Sounds good. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, if hearing none, if I can get a motion for this approval for Alicia Polston to serve in her elected role as past president for the remainder of her term until June 30th, 2023.
Make that motion, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Can I get a second?
Christy, I second it. Kim Fithian with Obet.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Cindy. I saw both of you on here, so I appreciate that. Just as a comment from me, again, I think I've shared this several times, but coming on as a brand new director, Alicia was somebody that was always there to answer a question, a great support. So I want to just thank Alicia for staying on in her retirement and even being willing to consider this. Because I do know that it takes time away from her family and other activities that she may have planned, but her insight and encouragement is something that I truly value. So to all of you as board of directors, I appreciate that. And I also challenge you and encourage you that if you've got a Head Start question, she's somebody that's got a lot of knowledge. So new directors, get Alicia's information and reach out to her. She's got a wealth of knowledge and experience. So all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to John, our executive director, and he's got some updates on a couple projects that are underway with Kentucky Head Start Association. So John, back over to you, sir.
You bet, you bet. So the first one I would call your attention to, and it's right here on the our agenda, is the statewide compensation study. And we've been talking about this for some time, and I'm glad to be able to share that it is now underway. As of yesterday, we have 22 of the 28 grantees in Kentucky that have committed to participate in the study. And so that means we have just over 75% of our grantees that are going to be participating with us. That certainly goes beyond, I think, our initial expectations. I think initially we wanted to have about 65%. We thought that if we had that particular number, we would be able to really look at the figures, look at everything that was there and say, yes, this is a valid study. This is going to be valuable not only to, sort of the association to be able to point to things on a large scale, but it's valuable to each of you as individual programs to sort of see where you sit across the state and sort of where you sit locally in terms of what you ought to be paying your folks in terms of how it compares. So having 22 of 28, that's really great. As I had mentioned in the correspondence that has gone out to everyone, we're working with a company called Lapley and Associates. They're out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. Just sort of happened that we came across them through a mutual person that we had worked with before. And they've done really, I think, a really great job so far of sitting down with us, going through all of the different types of job descriptions and figuring out how we can have a survey put together in a way that is going to be meaningful to the study, but is not onerous for you and your team in order to gather the data and fill it out. So you should be hearing, if you haven't already, you should be hearing from Neil Lapley and his folks with the survey. And I would encourage you or the person that you designated, if you have questions, if you have concerns, please be in touch with Neil or be in touch with me. And we can certainly walk through all the concerns you have, any questions that you may have. But our goal would be to have this done. Really, once we start gathering the data, it's not going to take them very long to crunch the numbers. So once we get everything in from folks, I think once they start collecting the data, we should be able to have it in 30 to 45 days and be able to turn that around to folks. Because I think as you start entering your reviews next year, you're going to want to be able to point to something like this that that's going to be helpful to you. So Tracy Jenkins had asked me a question earlier a couple of months ago about this, had asked what are going to be the costs for this to his program or other programs. There are no costs to your individual programs. This is something that KHSA is taking care of. This is something that we're covering out of the dues that you pay, out of the monies that we have. I tend to think that this ought to be one of those values that you ought to be able to look at the association for on a sort of semi-annual basis and look at it and say, okay, when are we doing that compensation study? When can we expect to participate in that to make sure that we always have something that's accurate and useful? So to the extent that you're participating, I look forward to it. If your organization has not committed to participate, but you are interested in doing so, it's not too late. I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting. Send me an email, give me a call, and we can make sure that you are included with us. Any questions about that while we're on the subject? Rhonda, I'm not sure about your question that you sent me in the chat, but I will check and make sure. Okay, let me move on to the Family Friendly Schools certification. And let me pull up a website here real quick for you so that we can look at it together. Now, this is a great project that we have really been fortunate to be able to participate in. KHSA was approached. Christy, what would you say? Back in May, perhaps?
Yes,
May,
sir.
something like that. So the Pritchard Committee, and as you can see up here, Pritchard Committee and the Kentucky Collaborative for Families and Schools approached KHSA about being a part of their new early education family-friendly certificate program. And this is something that they've been working on as far as a model is concerned for some time, and they just started to get it deployed into schools in March. And right now they have 11 schools that have gone through the process and 11 schools that have been certified as being family-friendly schools. What they're looking for, though, in partnership with the Kentucky Department of Education, is they're really looking to get to 50 schools by the middle of November. And having worked with them on the early education segment, because there is an entire other family-friendly school certificate for sort of K through 12, this is focused just on early education. Working with them on it, we've really been able to make a few adjustments to not only what they've included, but also sort of how they think about it in terms of Head Start programs. And so I think we've been very happy with the way that the Pritchard Committee has responded to that and how they've incorporated the Head Start perspective into what this family-friendly certificate program is. And so you should have received a few emails from me about it. There is a free online Q&A, sort of a Zoom Q&A that's happening on the 15th. So there's information about that you should have received, and I will send it out to you again. But there's information about a Zoom that's on the 15th at 1 o'clock Eastern time, where you'll be able to sort of be walked through the process. They'll be able to show you everything that it does, and you'll be able to ask questions about it. But I know that, Christy, you were sharing with us that from your perspective, these are all things that you're already doing. And it really makes sense for your program to sort of go through it and to really be recognized.
Yes, sir. So for all of our Head Start programs, y'all, this is something we do day in and day out. Yes, there's a little putting information together, but the frame that I'm looking at, the lens I'm looking through this is we're going to use this as part of our self-assessment for our family service team. So we might be doing family self-assessment a little early for our family service group, but in the end, it's going to, allow us to have a certificate. So we're going to walk through this family-friendly schools. It takes staff members, community partners, and parents, as well as your family service staff. But everything is already part of the PFCE that we do day in and day out. There's strategies you already use. And I think there'd be nothing better than all of our Head Start programs getting that family-friendly certificate to be able to present at our spring conference, hopefully, with some guests. The other piece of this is I know that it's going to build partnerships between family childcare or family home childcare partnerships, Head Start, state-funded preschool. So all of those entities have the ability to apply for family-friendly certificate status. So those of you that have childcare partnerships, this is a great way to bring them in. The trainings that are on there are great. They're cute little videos, easy to watch. It doesn't take a lot of time. And they were pretty engaging as well, especially to help bring families into that leadership role. So thank you, John.
Yeah, so if, for instance, when you visit the website that they have here, there's all sorts of resources that you can use. Christy mentioned the online training modules. It instantly, will take you over there, and they've got all sorts of wonderful tools that you can go through and use with your team to sort of bolster what your family services group is doing when it comes to the particular guide that they have, what they call the playbook. It's very well done, focused on relationship building, communications, shared responsibility, advocacy, community partnerships, all sorts of good tools that are in here that I think your program would find to be beneficial. So I would encourage folks to really take a look at it. At the very least, I would encourage you to participate if you can in that webinar on the 15th, just to see if maybe this is something that your program would be interested in doing. And if not this year, maybe it's something that you would like to do in the future. But I would encourage you to go and take a look at that. And KHSA is, if I can get this thing to close. Well, clearly I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to using the guide. But I think when you are participating with that, when you see a lot of the materials, you're going to see KHSA's logo. You're going to see a lot of other partners that are out there. And so this really is something that I think the Pritchard Committee's done a good job in as far as trying to bring everyone together, get everybody on the same page. So any questions about that? I sent out some information yesterday, I think, or the day before, but I'll send out some additional information today with just a reminder of the webinar. Okay. All right, let me get back to where I was. Okay. There we go. Much better. Okay, the next item that I've got that I wanted to briefly share with folks is sort of a concept, and this is in the Google Drive, and this is our Leadership Academy. This particular item is something I've been thinking about for a little while, and I finally was able to put some pen to paper on this. And I know that there are a variety of sort of leadership development opportunities that exist for you and for your team, but there hasn't been one, I don't think, that has been at the statewide level just for Head Start, put on by an organization like KHSA that's focused just on Head Start staff. And so I thought it would be important for us to maybe consider putting something like that together. The goal of this program would be to really focus on who you, as the leaders of your Head Start programs, who you think are the up and coming leaders on your teams. Who are the folks that you think are those leaders that need just that little bit of extra spark, that little bit of extra training, folks that you sort of see as someone that you would like to groom for a leadership role, and to begin to put them into a program that is not necessarily focused on everything Head Start, but instead is focused on everything leadership. And you can see sort of here the things that I would expect a Leadership Academy to focus on. You see the list there: self-awareness, accountability, communications, management, so on and so forth. And so the idea that I've got is that we would put together a 30-hour program that would take place 5 times over the course of, say 6 months, could be 7 months, 8 months. And this is something that would culminate in the graduation of our leadership development class in conjunction with our annual conference. And so that would sort of be the conclusion, is that they would have their final session in conjunction with that conference, and then they would graduate from the KHSA Leadership Development Academy. And we would be able to recognize their accomplishments. We'd be able to celebrate them and what they've done, but also create interest in hopefully getting the next class to come in and participate. But you can sort of see on the screen here how I've outlined each of these. And so each of these would be sort of a 2/3 of a day program, about 6 hours each. And they would be held in person, and they would be held at different places around the state. And the thinking behind that is I wanted to make it easy for your folks to participate. I think if we had it in one central location, that just sort of, oh, I got to go to Lexington again. Oh, I got to go to Elizabethtown again. So trying to make it easier that, we can sort of move this thing around. And so my idea is that your folks would really only have to be on the road and perhaps spend the night only once when they're out on this particular effort, in addition to participating in the annual meeting. The other benefit to that, though, is I would like for this to be held at different Head Start programs around the state. I think that would be a great way to partner with different programs. It would also be a good way for people to see other Head Start programs that they may not have been exposed to. It's a good way for you, if your program participates, to show off what you're doing and for us to celebrate what's happening in your area. And so that's sort of the idea. I think right now we would try to limit participation to one person per program, because it does begin to get expensive if we've got a lot of people participating. And plus it begins to get a little bit unmanageable when we get beyond sort of that 28 to 30 mark, when you're talking about a leadership development type program. The other thing to consider is cost. We do want to bring in a variety of different speakers and actually have a variety of different efforts that they go through. For instance, the very first session is Essence of Leadership and your leadership profile. I want folks to be able to actually go through a leadership profile and understand the type of leader that they are, and understand that it's okay to be different from your peers. It's okay to have different motivations, and it's okay to sort of lead in a different way. So there are costs associated with it, and I'm trying to get those costs to a point where, right now I'm thinking it's anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 for someone to participate. But if that's over 30 hours, it's only $50 per instructional hour. But this very well could be something that, as we look at it, we can try to get those costs down. But what I wanted to just ask you today, based on this document that perhaps you've read, perhaps you haven't, but I would encourage you to do so. And based on what I just shared with you, I would be curious as to your response. It's just sort of an open question, whether or not you think something like this would be valuable. And is something like this anything that you would consider sending a staff person to? And if you say no, that's okay too. It's just kind of an open question for everyone.
John, this is Kim from OVEC. One thing I see with this is, I think I like it, but we have some folks that are in Leadership Shelby this year, and that does some of the similar things. And Dr. Meehan has been adamant to try and send at least one, if not two, Head Start folks every year through that program so they can learn about everything. And then we are going to next year send at least two through Leadership Louisville. So I don't know how this correlates to that. Could you share a little bit of that and how that correlates? The cost, or Leadership Louisville's a lot more expensive than this, but Leadership Shelby's is not. So can you tell me a little bit of how that correlates?
Well, I went through, in 2007, I went through Leadership Lexington. And sort of my experience with that was, I thought there was great value in it, but I also thought that a lot of it, at least my experience, this was my own experience. So I'm not talking about Shelby or Louisville or anything else, but my experience was it was really focused on a lot of networking. It was focused on trying to create new relationships and new partnerships. There was some leadership aspects to it. There were some sort of increasing your communication skills, sort of things like that. But
it was very community too, very community based when I went through Leadership Shelby. So this is totally leadership based.
Yeah, this one is totally leadership based. Completely.
I like the piece that it would visit Head Start programs. That really caught my attention, because we've talked for years, me, you, and Christy, about doing a cooperative, doing a network, and it's never gotten off the ground.
Exactly.
And I really do like that piece of it. I think that's awesome for it to travel. People get to see these programs, otherwise they're not going to.
Right.
I love that piece of it. I like it. I think it's an opportunity for those folks that that maybe are in the corners of your program a little bit, that aren't out in the forefront, that you could pull them out, that we see leadership skills, they need that little bit of push to do it, and they could be with people that's in the same arena as them. So I like it. I just want to make sure we weren't duplicating something that was already out there, and I don't think we are.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
No, thank you. I like it.
No, I would agree. I think that, we do recognize that there are all kinds of leaders. There's all kinds of different leaders within an organization, and people have different strengths doing different things. And I think that we also recognize that there are leaders within organizations that if we don't give them that little opportunity, maybe they never discover the leadership qualities that they could have.
True.
Other thoughts? I'm really truly open to your feedback.
Thank you for your work on this, John.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to second what Kim said. I mentioned it with our executive team yesterday. I think this is a way to bring up future leaders, the future person who will be director here at Head Start, the next person that's going to be my education manager. But I have to take the time to develop that within people as well. I can't sit back and expect it to happen on its own. So I think this is going to be a great way to build within. And also when we're thinking about who's going to, be in succession planning, as we think about that, we also have to make sure we've connected them to strong leaders across the state, because, we have to lean on each other to survive. And if they don't know who to connect with, this is going to build that connection so that once they step into a leadership role, it's ready to rock and roll. So I really appreciate you, John. Thank you.
If I can comment, I agree with all the comments about value and the foundation and all of that, but realistically, anybody from my program is probably going to have full overnight expenses for at least 3 of those 4, if not all 4 locations. It just depends on where they are.
Right.
So I'm talking about extra hotel, food, travel, all of that added to that cost just because of geographically where we are. I'm pretty well 2.5 hours away from any other program except Christie at a minimum. And so anywhere else you go, we're talking 3, 4, 5 hours that people would have to travel and plan on overnight.
Cindy, I have a question though. Would this not qualify for your TNTA dollars? It's training. Could you not call?
It would. I'm just saying the investment is going to be way
much
more
larger.
than, probably close to double my investment than just the cost of the, it would definitely qualify, but it's a bigger chunk.
Yeah.
John, I kind of agree with Cindy. My local leadership is $250. So that's a big step up from what we typically pay for our leadership classes. Which I know I'm in a much more rural area than a lot of you all, so there probably is that big price difference.
Yeah, maybe there's a way, to that point, Cindy and Rhonda, I wonder if there's a way that perhaps the first session and the last session could be in person and the others could somehow be remote. I don't know. I do see value in the in-person, but at the same time, Kentucky is such a geographically unique state.
It is, John, but I really think, so many things are going remote. I don't want to lose all of our in-person at all, but I truly think if you handpick people that do these sessions for you, that like Christy said, they're true leaders, and some of us are old and been around a long time, I think that they could do some stuff remote and actually video. We did some really cute things here. We did a sorority event. We did our 30th year birthday party. And you can do a lot of things, video, and put people up and just snippets of things and show. And then, if give them resources. And if they want to contact you later, they'll have your information, the name of the person they liked what they were presenting, and they can get back to you. You don't have to be 4 or 5 hours. You could maybe pick 2 or 3 programs that could do an hour remote and do it before, do something that they could just present via video and really cut down on the cost. Because I do agree. I mean, Leadership Shelby's $500. And this is a lot more expensive than that. Like we're sending $1,000. We're sending 2 people this year. Now, Leadership Louisville's $2,500. So there you go. But I do think and y'all can disagree with me, but I think we could do a lot with this. If we truly want to grow it, we could do a lot with this remotely and do the in-person too. I don't want to lose all the in-person. I don't, but I understand that travel. And honestly, people are still a little skittish of the travel. We're just now headed back to conferences just now.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny you say that, Kim. My wife went to a conference 2 weeks ago and came home with COVID and had it for 10 days.
Don't tell me. I've got people going nationals everywhere else in the next early head start. Don't tell me. But I've got 3 classrooms closed right now with COVID. I have no teachers, no subs, no teachers, and teachers are out 10 days, and all 3 of them's been vaccinated.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but she was in DC. So
great. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you could talk all day and not share that.
Sorry.
Thanks, Sean.
And John, I told you yesterday, we've been doing for a couple of years our own in-house leadership and really like it. And we even did some of ours by Zoom and some in person, and it worked great. So that is something that could help out if you want to do a couple. And I like in person better, but doing kind of a hybrid, doing a couple in person, a couple on Zoom, I think it would work.
Yep. Other thoughts, comments? And again, this is something that that we can continue to kick around, and I can take your comments and go back and work on it a little bit and see if we can't make some adjustments that lower the cost of the program, but also lower, as Cindy mentioned, sort of those ancillary costs that go with it. That make it a little bit easier for programs to participate. And that, we could always start that way and then grow it more later on. So we could always sort of take that approach. So, okay. So I appreciate everyone listening to me ramble about the leadership program idea, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, Christy, back to you. I think we're going to head into the finances.
All right. Did we need to touch on the disaster aid for our grantees real quick?
Oh yeah. Well, yes.
Before I have John do that, I need to start off and just ask, share an apology. And when I logged in, I had to jump on another call real quick, and I couldn't do what I wanted to, but I just really wanted to take a moment and remember our Head Start grantees that are going through so much. I know our Mayfield community, it's not like when you have a disaster, flooding or tornadoes, that you bounce back really quickly. So I really do want to take a moment and, just say thank you to the Head Start leadership and the staff and all the programs, let you know that you've been in our prayers, and I know it's not been easy. So I want to thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't take the time at the beginning to show our appreciation for you and the hard work that you do, but my well wishes are going out to you, and I know that you'll build back better, and everything will be fantastic once you, continue to serve families. So your Head Start program is here to support you and our regional and national office. So thank you for what you do, and if I can be of assistance, please let me know. John?
Yes, ma'am. And just so folks know, and I think that you were sent an email about this, and there may be some other information out there, but we had LKLP, Big Sandy, and Middle Kentucky were significantly impacted by the flooding that happened on the 26th through the 30th there in Eastern Kentucky. One of the wonderful things that did come out of that, though, was the disaster aid that the Region 4 Head Start Association was able to share with KHSA, and we were able to immediately get that forwarded to each of those programs. I know that each of them had staff that was displaced, and I'm certainly hopeful that those funds were able to be used in a way that did something. For I know it's a huge. I can't even begin to understand how difficult that must be for folks. But I hope that it was able to assist in some small way in helping to get your colleagues back on their feet. And I also know that there were several programs around the state that provided resources and supplies. And just want to say thanks to them as well. And then Justin, Chris, Tracy, is there anything you all would like to share sort of about your experiences or anything you'd like to say with the group?
Well, I don't care to start. I want to say first thanks. Several of you all have reached out to us over the last month, and I really appreciate that. Those of you that brought donations, sent donations, we're going through all of that, and we thank you. We actually lost 2 centers in the floods, so and they're neither one repairable. They were modular units. So we have those centers virtual right now, and we're working with the local school district trying to get an place for these children to be in person. So it's trial by fire. I've been at this for 5 months now, and we're dealing with, you know, this unprecedented thing, but I just appreciate your all support.
I'll say none of our centers, I'm sorry, Justin. None of our centers were affected by it, but we did have staff that received damage, and then we had family members that were that lost their homes. And I just want to say I appreciate the fact that we were able to get some money from Region 4 Association for a couple staff members that we had. They were very appreciative of that. And I also want to, I hope she don't mind me mentioning this, but Cindy Graves, her staff, you know, they donated money, and it was very appreciated. We had 6 families that lost everything, and so we made sure that that money was split between those 6 families. And you know, it might not be a lot to some people, but when you lose everything, anything helps. So we appreciate that. And Cindy, I know you thanked your staff for us, and just please let them know that our families appreciate it, and we appreciate their generosity.
I too just want to say thank you to Region 4, KHSA, our colleagues for reaching out to us. It was very much appreciated to our staff to meet some immediate needs that they had. We still have staff that are living with family, going to work every day. We lost 1 center, Perkins, in Knott County. We are relocated at our Perry County site, and we did not miss a beat. We opened on our regular opening date for Head Start of October the 22nd, and we're busing children from Knott County to Perry County while they're working on the building, and we're hoping for a smooth transition back to our building. So, and we appreciate all the donations and just the check-ins to see how we're doing. We really appreciate everything. Thank you all.
Okay, Christy.
All right, thank you all so much. I'm going to turn it on over now. Do I see James on here? I do not. So John, if you will go over our financials and discuss the proposal from the Budget and Finance Committee for our annual membership dues, and then we'll go from there.
All right, thank you. Okay, so like I said before, you've got a link to the Google Docs folder, so all of this is available to you in there. We are in our new fiscal year, obviously, starting July 1, and what you see in front of you is our statement of financial income and expense. So right now, we find ourselves, as we do every year, this is when we send out dues invoices to all of our member agencies. And thus far, we've been doing pretty well on our receipts. You can sort of see our income right there, $69,835.34. And then we have a variety of other expenses that we have had already this year, but you can see our net income down at the bottom. So far, so good. Everything is looking all right. Let me, however, share with you, and this is not meant to embarrass anyone or call anyone out, but this just lets you know sort of where we are with our dues. And so the folks that we have received our dues from, you see listed there on the left, and then programs that we have not yet received dues from are there on the right. So if you happen to see your program on the right, that means that your dues are probably sitting somewhere in your accounts payable, and they may be sitting with your finance folks somewhere. But I'm going to send out some reminders later this week just to let folks know. And I think, though, that we're actually in pretty good shape. 57% of our dues have come in as far as the number of programs, but in terms of the actual financial percentage, it really is more like about 85%. So far, so good on that front. So looking good on getting our dues in. Our expenses thus far on the year have been fairly low, so that's good. So you'll also see a copy in there. We've got our deposit detail and our check detail, so that shows all the different deposits that have been made, and it shows the checks that we've written, so you can go through and take a look at those. I don't think you'll see anything out of the ordinary there, but we want to make sure that we're 100% transparent. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our dues. As you may know, the finance committee that KHSA has spent the last, I would say 9-10 months in a conversation about our dues and about the different types of revenue that KHSA has. And this group was comprised of a variety of individuals. I know we had Cindy Graves, Chris Holliday. I think we had, who else did we have, Cindy? We had Martina.
I believe maybe Jeff, and of course, James. There was somebody else, Missy Saylor.
We had a really good crew that I thought was pretty diverse in terms of their type of program, the size of their program. And we really came together and just sort of talked about what do we think our different options are. Because when we look at our current level of dues, we're bringing in this number right here. If we have 100% dues paid, we're bringing in $59,532. Well, our actual expenses that we need as an organization to really cover literally everything, if we do it the right way, is this number. And you'll see that those two numbers are not anywhere near the same. Now, we're able to make up that. We have meeting registrations, we have meeting sponsorships and exhibits. And so at the end of the day, with the additional revenue that comes in, we're at about $89,500. So we're still coming up way short of this $145,000 mark. So you sort of see how that's broken down right here in terms of what all of that money is really spent on. So how have we been making up the difference? Well, KHSA over the last several years has had a reserve fund. And so we have been having to tap into that reserve fund on a periodic basis in order to cover some of our expenses. And I think everyone would agree, as we've discussed before, that doing that is not a way to run a sustainable organization. And so we have to get to a point where we have a due structure and a revenue model in which we are able to exist in a sustainable way, and where we are able to cover all of our costs without having to dip into our our reserves. And in fact, we need to be contributing to our reserves rather than taking away from them. So the committee that was looking at this asked me to take a look at other Head Start associations in other states. And so you sort of see right here a brief analysis. I was able to get information from several states, and the information is just sort of right there on the screen for you. Some states had dues that were higher than Kentucky. Some states had dues that were very similar to Kentucky. It would appear that most states are sort of using the model of a dollar figure per child. There are other states, though, that are going down the path of assigning dollar figure, a dues structure based on the size of your grant rather than the number of students that you're serving. There are still others that have a dues structure, but then also have on top of that an additional advocacy fee. For instance, the Region 4 Head Start Association has a separate advocacy fee in addition to their regular membership dues, as do some other state associations. So the group considered a variety of options. The first option, of course, is to do nothing. And I think everyone agreed that to do nothing is basically to say that we're not interested in the organization continuing on. Because if we do nothing, that's ultimately what will happen. The next option, though, is to say, okay, so if our annual budget, in order to do everything we want, is $145,000, well, then we need to make our dues equal to $145,000, and all of our grantees need to pay for that. Well, that's untenable as well, because that in effect would more than double the dues that we have. And in the fiscal environment in which we operate, there is no way that our dues paying Head Start members would be able to cover that. So there's a need to find a happy medium. And so this particular committee has come up with the following 4 recommendations. Recommendation number 1 is that we adopt a new annual dues formula and assessment of $6 per child to be implemented in the 2023-2024 dues cycle. Now, what that means is that we find ourselves right now in the 22-23 dues cycle, so that this would not go into effect until next July. So there are some bylaws requirements where we cannot adopt a dues formula and have it go into effect immediately. There has to be at least a 6-month waiting period. So whatever we choose to do, there has to be at least a 6-month buffer. So right now we're contemplating that that this would not go into effect until next July. So they're suggesting that we adopt a $6 per child. So right now we're at $4. They're suggesting that we go to $6. This dues formula and assessment would boost KHSA's annual dues collections to $89,298. I'm going to scroll down and show you a little chart. So what you see here, these are all of our grantees, and you see how much each of the grantees are paying at $4 per child, and then you're seeing how much they would be projected to pay at $6 per child. At $4 per child, the organization brings in $59,532. At $6 per child, it brings in $89,298. So about just under a $30,000 difference to the organization. The second recommendation from the group is that we adopt a new annual child advocacy assessment of $1 per child, with such funds to be used to support Region 4 and KHSA advocacy efforts to be implemented in the 2023-2024 dues cycle. This is separate and apart from the $6 per child listed in number 1. KHSA receives an invoice every year from the Region 4 Head Start Association for roughly about $8,400. And that $8,400 is used by Region 4 Head Start Association for its child advocacy fund. Part of those resources are forwarded on to the National Head Start Association for their advocacy efforts, but the remainder of those funds stay with Region 4 and are used for their work. So what this would end up doing, if adopted, is it would generate an additional $14,883, of which we would be spending that $8,400 or so to Region 4, and it would leave some additional resources for KHSA to cover some of our own advocacy costs. For instance, we have lobbyists that we pay for to monitor things in Kentucky, to work on our behalf in Kentucky. We have all sorts of other advocacy things that we do. For instance, next week, we have folks that are participating in the Fall Leadership Summit from NHSA, and we also go and make visits on Capitol Hill with our congressional delegation. So there are resources that KHSA needs in order to be conducting advocacy on behalf of all programs in Kentucky. The third recommendation is that we direct the KHSA Executive Director to examine cost-cutting measures that may be possible to save annual budget funds, such as annual office space and rent, technology subscriptions and tools, meeting, training, and expenses, basically anything we can do to save money. I think this is what we do already, but we can probably go in and do it even more. So we wanted to make sure that we had this as one of the recommendations. And then finally, as specified in our strategic plan, develop a new corporate partner program with specified annual membership dues, as well as a more defined set of sponsorship opportunities for KHSA events throughout the year. We've really got to figure out a way to tap into the sponsorship and corporate partner dollars that exist out there. Organizations like Frog Street and Lakeshore and any of the other groups that are there that may want to be a part of what KHSA is doing. Now, some of the things that if we're looking at increasing from $4 to $6, and if we're talking about a new child advocacy assessment, folks may be saying, well, what am I getting for that? You know, you're increasing my dues. Well, first and foremost, we need to realize that this is getting us towards the place of sustainability. So in many ways, we've been kicking the can down the road, and now it's time to pay the piper, if you will. On the other hand, there are some things that we need to be doing in order to demonstrate more value. And so one of the areas that we've been discussing with this particular group that we want to sort of bring to scale are an online training modules and sort of repository for information that your staff would be able to use. The next would be discounted in-person trainings, figuring out how do we put together more in-person trainings, as we've talked about, sort of getting away from some of the remote stuff, but at the same time recognizing that the remote stuff is still valuable, and doing those at a lower cost than we have seen in the past. And then continuing with our free virtual conference that we have done in the fall every year. We tried that the first year and it was very successful. We tried to charge for it in the second year and it wasn't that successful. So I think free is the way to do that. And I think that it ought to be able to be something that you can count on. Very similar to what I discussed earlier with the compensation study. That ought to be something that you look at and say, you know, that's what KHSA does. That's what I get for my dues. So having said all of that, I would ask any of the members that participated with our dues group to chime in if you've got any additional thoughts, any additional concerns, anything that I did not cover or I did not cover well enough. I'd ask you to sort of chime in and share. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks may have about this proposal. Any thoughts from the folks that participated? And there don't have to be.
Well, I think the one thing I would like everybody to know is that this group really, really spent a lot of time going back and forth on the issue of value for your dollar versus sustainability to meet the demands of the organization. And I think there were a lot of discussions about what is sustainable. And as John mentioned, there were a lot of discussions about how to reduce costs overall to make it more sustainable. I don't think any of us felt like there was just a cut and dried answer that, you know, this is something that, you know, may take multiple steps over time to really find that spot that is sustainable and affordable at the same time. So we didn't really feel like, you know, this is the answer to solve all of the financial concerns, but that a multiple method of attack, if you will, to bring expenses and income revenue more in line for what we want the association to do. So that was my take on working as part of this group. And I know there's some others on here who may have other thoughts.
I'd like to add something real fast. I've been with Head Start for a long time, and KHSA has been a roller coaster ride at times. And I want to see it get stronger and stronger. Everything's went up. Everything has. Air, I believe, has. So we can't stay in the red. And I know it's easier said than done to come up with money, especially when you've got a large program. Maybe there's a way to ease those programs, but if we can continue to get back more, I think it would help people ease the pain and ease the explanation, but of why. But getting the wage comparison to we can still work on a self-assessment for our state, anything to unite us together, to make us stronger, to get more information, to be supportive. I mean, it's terrible what's happened in Eastern, and thank God people from the Western side of the state. I mean, it just shows what Kentucky is and how Kentucky strong that we are and can be and should be. If we can do it, I think that we should do it. Just to make our association stronger and stronger and get more programs involved and for KHSA to meet their needs if at all possible. And then when we tackle the full utilization issues, we'll have a louder voice when we are united and not in the red. So just want to throw that out.
Okay, other thoughts, comments? So Christy, what our plan was to put this to a vote of folks. So I would turn it back over to you to run that aspect of it.
All right, thank you so much, John. At this time, if I can get a motion to accept the dues proposal. And let's see here, I don't have, let me pull it back up. This would be for the option for us to just go approve the proposal that John has given us.
Right,
So you need to look at that. You've got that in your Google Drive. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion as a representative of the committee.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there a second?
I'll second, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I approve that. I appreciate that. Sorry. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, Tracy, I saw you unmute.
I said aye.
Oh, okay. Just making sure we didn't have any discussion. All right. Motion is carried. Thank you so much. And that will further information will be coming from John. At this time, I'm going to call on Jeff Martin, our Vice President for Engagement, to review our officer nominating and election process to solicit nominations from the floor for our 2 positions.
Help if I could unmute, wouldn't it, Christy?
Hey, no worries.
Just a little background. We were originally going to do this on the June 24th meeting. I was really disappointed we didn't, because John was going to have to cover that because I was a little under the weather, but we didn't have a quorum. So now it's back on me to talk for a little bit. We did wait until this meeting because vacations and other absentee reasons and things. So we're now at our September meeting and we need to get nominations for this position. KHSA has 5 officer positions along with the board that help oversee the organization. Each year there are nominations taken for the 2-year terms. On even number years, there are 2 positions that are open, and odd number years, there are 3 positions that are open. This year it's vice president for programming and vice president for finance. On May 2nd, there was a call for nominations that went out, with the nominations due by June 3rd. Each week thereafter, John sent out a weekly notices of the submission of the deadline. We received 2 nominations, but they were both from the same program. And our bylaws only allow 1 nomination. Therefore, they withdrew both of their nominations. So we are at the point of we need to get nominations from the floor for the 2 open positions. There will be, if we get nominations today, there will be electronic balloting. And John, you correct me if I say anything wrong, please. But it will start after this meeting and run through September 16th for the close of the balloting to give everyone a chance to put in their vote. The vice president for programming will be our first one. This position will assume all duties of the president in the event of absence, resignation, or sorry, Christy, death. Will serve as the chairperson of the Professional Development Committee and will oversee various strategic initiatives and special projects of KHSA and other duties assigned, designated by the president. Do I have a motion to open the floor for nominations for Vice President of Programming?
I motion, Jessica.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Nominations for the office of Vice President of Programming is now open. This is the first call for nominations. Do I have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Jessica Coffey for Vice President for Programming, please. Jessica, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Sorry, Christy, I probably should have done that, but thank you for doing it.
Hey, no worries. I just thought I'd call her out while she was on the screen. I could see her face and, you know.
It's all a team effort.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is the second call for nominations for Vice President of Programming. Final call for nominations for the office of Vice President for Programming. Hearing nothing else, do I have a motion to cease nominations?
So move.
Okay, we have a first. Do I have a second to cease nominations for Vice President?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. This name will appear on the ballot. So we will move on along to our next position, which is Vice President of Finance. This position will serve as chairperson of the Finance and Budget Committee, provides outreach to members and funders for potential funders to help secure the resources needs to the fund KHSA, oversees KHSA finances and ensures KHSA officers and staff adhere to KHSA financial policies and procedures, and ensures the physical integrity of the association. At this time, do I have a motion to open the floor for the Office of Vice President of Finance for nominations?
I move we open the nominations.
We have a first. Do we have a second to open the nominations for Vice President of Finance?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first, and it's been seconded. All in favor of opening the nominations, please signify. Anyone opposed? This time, nominations are open for Vice President of Finance. Do we have, this is the first call for nominations for Vice President of Finance. This is a second call for nominations for Office of Vice President for Finance. Third and final call for nominations for the Vice President of Finance. I'm assuming proper procedures to close nominations, and then it would go to our bylaws of appointment.
Correct.
If there are no nominations, do I get a motion to close this process, which would allow the president for someone for this position?
Motion to close.
Okay, we have a motion to close nominations for the Vice President of Finance. May I get a second? Sure, Jessica, did you? I didn't hear you, but it looked like you were saying something. I can't hear you. You are, okay. Jessica seconds. We have a first and we have a second. All in favor of closing nominations, signify please. Anyone opposed? Motion carries to close. This means that we do not have any nominations. And again, John, please weigh in, but I think this means our bylaws take it back to Christie to make a nomination and then approve by at the next board meeting, I believe.
Correct. Yes, the way that would work. So if we have a position that has no nominations, it then the bylaws permit the president to appoint someone to fill that role. And then at the next board meeting, that person would be approved by the board. The board would have to vote to make sure of that. Now we find ourselves in a unique situation though with our vice president of programming that we only have one nomination, and that nominee being Jessica Coffey. So that being the case, we would not have to have an election because we only have one nominee. So congratulations, Jessica.
What have I got myself into? Oh, thank you.
Okay, any questions or thoughts? Any questions about that?
Yeah, I think Jessica could just do both positions, it sounds like.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Jessica. I know everyone appreciates you stepping up. Okay, I know that we were not able to do it earlier, but Carla, Sharon tells me that you have an update to share with us now.
I do. Thank you. And I apologize for not having the information beforehand.
No worries at all.
Just a couple of things that she wanted me to share with you all. The full utilization. So if you have any issues, as Bill and Andrea mentioned earlier, please keep detailed notes so that we can address those issues if there are any. Also, that there is a group that is requested to present at the Early Childhood Education Task Force. So support Tammy by sending her some information on what the state looks like, handouts, documents, and anything else that you have for this Early Childhood Task Committee. Also, Community Action is putting together a statewide campaign for Head Start. So we're working on a Head Start video and other ways to promote Head Start And we're also focusing on increasing the federal poverty limit to 200 to match that of preschool eligibility. Class is always an issue with Head Start, and with such staffing turnover, we're trying to get new staff members trained on class. So we are submitting another letter to the Office of Head Start so that those class scores won't be punitive to the agencies. So we're working on creating some roundtable discussions as well. The other thing that she had was the care system, the background system. And I know we've been affected by this, but some grantees are having issues with staff not being at the site when their team comes in to review. So for example, if I'm scheduled to be, if my home site is Warren County Head Start, but I'm filling in at Allen County Head Start, and the review team comes in, we'll get cited for that because that's not our home, my home site. So I don't know if anyone else is having that issue, but we've had that issue as well. So just keep that in mind. And also with the state monitoring, some people are having issues with the annual training, the deadline that puts everybody on the same date. And then last thing that Sharon had, and the community action has, is staffing shortages. And there was a information memorandum that was sent out this week regarding those staffing shortages and on reducing your numbers to increase staff salary. So that was it. And again, I apologize. Jessica, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
I think she might be on the phone though.
Oh, okay. Sharon?
Or maybe not.
Okay. Yeah, so those are just a few things that we have from Community Action Kentucky Head Start Committee. So if you all have any questions, I'd be glad to take those down and get those back to the Head Start Committee. If not, that's all I have.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Johnny.
And then lastly, I just received a question in the chat from Missy Saylor. Missy was asking me about the status of the KHSA awards. So we did have our awards committee led by Alicia Polston as our past president. And we received this year more applications than we have received in, I want to say, the last 3 years. So that's a really great thing because I think the notoriety of our Kentucky Head Start Awards, but also sort of how well Kentucky has been doing at the regional level, folks are really wanting to participate a lot more in the awards program. So they were able to review all of the applications and to select winners. And all of those were forwarded to the Region 4 Head Start Association by their deadline for selection. And it's my understanding that they will go through that process and that their award winners will be, they'll be notified. I think it usually happens after the first of the year. We will be making our award announcements in conjunction with our annual conference. But as we get a little bit closer to that, I'll be working with the directors of each of those programs to notify them about the winners. But other than that, you'll just have to wait and see. And then Tammy Stanley just asked me a question about our DC visits next week. So I am still talking to the legislative offices. Right now, I have a meeting at 10:30 a.m. with Representative Comer, District 1, and at 11 a.m. have a meeting with Representative Barr in District 6. Senator Paul's office turned us down, and I'm still working with the others. It has been a little difficult this time, and it's been difficult to figure out why it's been difficult, because in the past, it's been kind of easy to get these meetings set up. But it turns out that after COVID and after the January 6th, the Longworth office building and the Rayburn office building, both on the House side, they now have all sorts of new security measures and all sorts of other little hoops we have to jump through. And so those of you that are going to be with us next week on Wednesday on those visits, we actually can't hang out in the building in between our meetings anymore. We get to go to our meetings and then we actually have to leave our meetings. So we are going to do the best we can to get all of those scheduled as closely together. But as we get a little bit closer, I know we're a week out, but this always happens with our congressional visits. We're going to be able to share more details about that scheduling.
Hey, John, real fast, will you be sending those out, like the ones you've already got scheduled? Will
Yeah.
you be sending? Okay, I know
Sure.
Brian's been talking with you, but I just wanted to ask real fast.
Yeah, and what did you mean about the session meetings?
The sessions, I believe that's what they were called. The committee meetings is what I call them still.
Oh, yeah. We did not have any over the summer just because folks are on vacation and folks were not around, but we're getting those scheduled for October. Yep.
Okay,
Got it.
thanks. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, any other questions? Thoughts, comments from anyone? Okay. We are at 2:09 and I think that we have completed all of our business. So with that, unless anyone has any objection, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
All right.
Jeff, I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. All right. And anyone opposed? All right. Thank you. I thought this was a very productive meeting, and I appreciate all of you making the time to join us. I know that we were here for just over 2 hours, but I think we got a lot done. So thank you all so very much. And I look forward to being in touch on all of the things that we discussed and decided. So everybody have a good rest of the week.